We got the Aces flailing, the Indiana Fever on the rise, and Sedona Prince was a part of a lawsuit that will bring billions to future and previous college athletes. Women's Basketball Weekly starts now. What is up, awesome people of the internet, and welcome to Women's Basketball Weekly, your source for all things women's basketball. In today's show, we're going to celebrate the legacy of a WNBA legend. We're going to talk about some NCAA hoops and a whole lot more. But first, let's start off with the WNBA, which has its playoffs begin on September the 22nd. And teams are already on the hunt to try to make that top 8. So, the WNBA has a total of 12 teams in the league for this season. Next year, it'll be 13. And each year, 8 teams make it to the playoffs. Now, unlike the NBA, the WNBA, it doesn't matter whether you're in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference for the playoffs. It's the top 8 teams, regardless of your location, will make the playoffs. Over the weekend, we saw the New York Liberty, the Connecticut Sun, and the Minnesota Lynx clinch playoff berths for this year. And all other spots are still up for grabs. So here's what we currently have. We got the New York Liberty at number 1, Connecticut at number 2, Minnesota at number 3, Seattle at number 4, Las Vegas number 5, Phoenix number 6, Indiana number 7, Chicago with the last place right now, number 8, and on the outside looking in is the Atlanta Dream at number 9. That's kind of where we are right now. Of course, this will change dramatically as the weeks go on. It does seem like we're not going to know the full lineup until September the 19th. So September the 19th is the final day of the regular season. And on that day, all 12 teams are playing. And the whole point of it was to continue to have drama in terms of the standings until the last day, mainly because that just brings more excitement. And so I very, very much am excited to figure out who is actually going to make the playoffs. And the drop dead date of when we will know that is at the end of the day on September the 19th. After all 12 teams have played, we will know for sure what the playoff standings look like and the matchups that we will see. Now, when we look at the current standings for the playoff matchup right now, there's 2 things that come to mind for me. And it's 2 things I really want to focus on this week. So one is the Las Vegas Aces have sort of imploded of sorts. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but we're going to talk about it. Also, it does seem like the Indiana Fever might actually make the playoffs. They might actually be good enough to make the playoffs, which is pretty exciting if you are a fan of parity in the WNBA. So the Las Vegas Aces are back-to-back champs. In 2022, the team lost a combined 10 regular season games. Last year in 2023, the team only lost 6 regular season games. And so far, this team has already lost 11 games. Now, for a couple of seasons, the Las Vegas Aces looked largely like the favorites, mainly because they had a quote-unquote super team. They played with the best player in the world in Asia Wilson. They had the sharpshooters of Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum that were doing their thing. They had the legendary point guard herself, Chelsea Gray. And for a hot sec, they even had the GOAT in Candace Parker. And they were coached by a former WNBA player and NBA coach, Becky Hammond. This team had the full package. And while the New York Liberty team built a super team to sort of try to compete with the Las Vegas Aces last year, they floundered in the finals. And the Aces won it again. They proved to us that they were still the top dogs in the WNBA. But guys, this is a new day. This is a new day. And parity is here in the WNBA. And we have reached a point that even that non-playoff teams have a chance against the Aces. Yes, at the beginning of the season, Some of the bad starts and losses for the Aces was because they were missing Chelsea Gray, who was injured. But now Chelsea Gray's back, and this Las Vegas Aces team still looks very suspect. Now let's just look at the schedule and look at some of the games they lost. They lost to Phoenix early in the season, then lost to Atlanta, then Seattle, then LA the first time, then Minnesota the first time. They lost to the New York Liberty. They lost again to the LA Sparks. They lost to Chicago. They lost to New York. And they have lost twice this past Wednesday and this past Friday against the Minnesota Lynx. And it's not about the losses per se. That's not why I think this is an interesting development. It's the way that this Aces team plays. Yes, they're a team that, yes, A'ja Wilson is fantastic. Definitely MVP in my opinion. She is carrying this team. And she has carried this team in the past, but there's a lot less from Chelsea Gray than what we have seen in the past. And at times, the guards, primarily, Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young, sometimes they don't have good games, and they sort of have this team sort of struggle. And this is a team that does not have a bench. They've never really had a bench, but their starting lineup is not as effective as they used to be. Therefore, you need the bench to then come in and actually do something. And overall, it's just sort of been a struggle fest. You could see that in most recently those games against Minnesota. They're struggling on both the offensive and defensive front of things. They're struggling to defend, and their guards are struggling to hit. And it's a tough recipe. Yes, A'ja Wilson for the most part has just been dominant, absolutely. And even on her off games, she's scoring like 20 points. So talk about an off game for somebody is 20 points. In the game that we just saw the other day, or yesterday, I should say, against the Chicago Sky. The Aces looked suspect for the entire first half. They looked bad. Second half, they kind of got it together. Kelsey Plum started to do something, and then they got saved by A'ja Wilson at the last second. But we are seeing we're seeing the humanity of the Las Vegas Aces. They are no longer the crazy, crazy dominant team. And in all honesty, guys, I think this is good for the league. The fact that teams are catching up, and parity is here. The Las Vegas Aces have lost a substantial amount of games this season to teams that are under 500. It just shows how any night anybody can get got. And the Las Vegas Aces, they still can win a championship, though to me, I don't think they're going to win it this year. I really do think that this is probably the New York Liberty's best year to possibly win this thing. But, can the Aces win? Sure. But it doesn't seem likely. And personally, I think this is good for the W. Yes, you could see all the comments about, oh, they're not that good and all this stuff. They're still very, very good. They're still a really, really good team. But they're not as good as they were last year. They're not at all. They're not as good as they were 2 years ago, because Chelsea still does not seem completely back to where she was. They don't have a bench that can really help them make anything happen, or at least a bench that Becky Hammon trusts to actually get minutes and come in the game and make something happen. And A'ja Wilson is carrying, and she's trying her best. And we'll see how far they make it. But I did want to talk about it because that is something that I noticed pretty substantially, that this team is they're not the same. They're tired. Probably hurts them that they have several Olympians that was on the team. But, anyway, that's the sort of talk about the Las Vegas Aces. The Indiana Fever is a team that I want to talk about because they're a team that has not been in the playoffs since 2016. The last time they made it to the playoffs, 2016, was when Indiana Fever great Tamika Catchings retired. Since then, the Fever have hung out amongst the bottom of the league with a roster who could never really compete with much of anybody. For years, the Fever matchup for teams was seen as a pretty easy win. The fan support all but died. And by this point, most teams, after going several years without being in the playoffs, after going several years with dwindling fan support, most teams would have dried up and folded. But most teams are not the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever stuck around long enough to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is finally here. After all those years, it is finally here. And they're able to right the ship. They're able to right the ship and get back to the Indiana basketball that we used to know them as when they had Tamika Catchings. They're back to basketball relevancy. And while this year might be the year that they finally make the playoffs and finally sort of cap off this journey, this team has been building for a while. They've been building for years, and it's finally arrived where all the pieces are just sort of like connecting together. In 2018, the Indiana Fever drafted Kelsey Mitchell. And over the years, she has been the Fever's best player. She was drafted number 2 in the draft. And she could take players off the dribble and score. She can catch and shoot from the 3. She can do it all. And she has been doing it all for the beleaguered Fever team for years now. She averages around 17 points in her career so far. And then you draft some youngsters to the team. Nalissa Smith was a huge addition to the Indiana Fever in 2022, when she also was a second pick in the draft, I should say. Kelsey Mitchell also was a second pick in the draft. Her offensive game for Nalissa Smith is crazy. She is a forward who isn't your normal forward. She can play defense. She also can take players on the dribble, either take you all the way to the basket or kind of drive, pop up for a jumper, and get it to go. She is a very, very versatile scorer. And last year alone, she almost averaged a double-double. And when it comes to, this year, yes, she hasn't sort of been the normal Nalissa Smith that I have seen her be. But she definitely is a baller. You have now 2 players who came back-to-back number 1 pick for the Indiana Fever. You have in 2023, Aaliyah Boston, number 1 pick. You have in 2024, this year, Caitlin Clark, number 1 pick. You have your anchor center. You have your point guard of the future. You have a forward that is a straight up bucket if you can make it really, really work with her in the current system that you're working with. And then you have a shooting guard who can flat out shoot in Kelsey Mitchell. Guys, we see the results of this. The results are clear. The Fever are now pulling out gritty wins. Yes, they have some losses that we could talk about that they probably should have won. But it is very, very clear that the vision for the future of the Fever is here. This team is going to be a fast-paced team that can score the basketball, and that's fun to watch. The fan support is through the roof. And the Indiana Fever team, they're back. They're back, guys. Is it guaranteed that the Fever will make the playoffs this year? No, it's not. Right now, they're in the playoffs. They have that 7th spot, but they can absolutely fall off in the playoffs, depending on if they can win some of their upcoming games. We will see, ultimately. We'll ultimately see what happens, but the vision is there for the Indiana Fever. The vision is there, and it's just about seeing what else they can sort of do from now on, right? So to finish out the season, they have a pretty decent amount of competition that they're going to be going against. They play Atlanta, Connecticut, Chicago, Dallas, LA, Minnesota, Atlanta again, Las Vegas twice, Dallas, and then the Mystics to cap off the year. So could we see them fall out the playoffs? Yes, but I also think it's very likely that they will be in the playoffs come the end of the season. And to me, that's a win for the Indiana Fever, for a team that is rising and who are really, really building themselves a really good future. All right, guys, other WNBA news and player transaction news. Monique Billings signed a rest of the season contract with the Phoenix Mercury. Jalen Sherrod signed a rest of the season contract with the New York Liberty. Crystal Dangerfield signed a rest of the season contract with the Los Angeles Sparks. Odyssey Sims is on her second 7-day contract with the LA Sparks. Eventually, it's likely that she will be signed for a rest of the season contract, but I guess they're trying to waste out all those 7-day contracts. Celeste Taylor signed her second 7-day contract with the Phoenix Mercury. I also think they're going to re-up that again, and she ultimately will be signed for a rest of the season contract because I think she is doing really well with the Phoenix Mercury. Caitlin Bickle signed a 7-day contract. She's on her second one with the Connecticut Sun, and the Sparks have signed contract extensions with Azurá Stevens and Stephanie Talbot. All right, and continuing on with the WNBA, the Golden State Valkyries, the WNBA's newest expansion team, held their first open house on August 18th for season ticket deposit holders. Now, the open house took place at the Chase Center and was a chance to continue to sort of draw a buzz around the team and for new fans to actually make connections with not only each other, but for the team itself, and to warm up those pockets for when the actual ticket prices come on sale. Now, the Valkyries have reported that they have seen 15,000 people put 15,000 ticket deposits, season ticket deposits, which for sure is a lot of deposits. That means 1,500 seats are accounted for, at least right now, for deposits. In order to secure fan season tickets, interested fans had to place a non-refundable $25 deposit per seat. So that means, do 15,000 times $25. That's how much money that they were able to get just from season ticket deposits for the Valkyries. The Valkyries, they were announced as a expansion team. If you did not know, they're going to be the WNBA's 13th franchise. That announcement was made on October the 5th, 2023, and the team will begin play in 2025. They are affiliated with the Golden State Warriors, and the team will be headquartered in Oakland, California, and play their home games at Chase Center in San Francisco. And most recently, the Golden State Warriors introduced two key figures on their sort of administrative staff. They have a general manager that was announced, and they also have a vice president of basketball operations. The coach announcement will probably be coming very, very soon. I think it's likely that announcement will be made right before the expansion draft, which will be happening soon, though the WNBA has not released news about that. Likely that'll happen either December or January. But TBD on the details about that. Once Kathy Engelbert releases something, I will make sure to update you all on the expansion draft. All right, now on to In the History Book.
I knew that I had to come in and make a name for myself, both on and off the court. That's what I was really focused on.
That's a good-looking rookie. You can understand why she was chosen number 2 overall.
What a move by Alana Beard.
Big-time players hit big-time shots.
Mainly because of the fans is why I wanted to be here.
Ball's poked away, stolen by Beard.
Alana Beard lights it up. What's the shot? What a play by Alana Beard. That was amazing. 1 second in the first half. From the corner, Beard's got it.
I've gotten a lot of individual awards, but I wouldn't have gotten any of them without my team.
Oh boy. No, she did not.
Beard lays it on and a foul.
I don't think ahead. I don't think in the past. I just think about what's there.
The Washington Mystics recently inducted Alana Beard to the Mystics Hall of Fame. And that was pretty awesome to see. Alana Beard, if you didn't know, was absolutely fantastic, guys. She was drafted to the WNBA as the second pick in the draft in 2004. And she, before going to the WNBA, she attended Duke, where she had a phenomenal college season. She had a 90% win rate with Duke, going 126 wins and only 14 losses. She won 4 straight ACC titles, 3 ACC Player of the Year awards. She got her squad to the Final Four twice. She was an AP Player of the Year. And also, guys, she was the first woman to win the Wooden Award, the Wade Trophy, and the Naismith Player of the Year. It's crazy. She also finished as Duke's all-time leading scorer with 2,687 points. Yeah, guys, she was a straight-up baller. Now, I want you to sort of picture the 2004 draft. This is the year that Diana Taurasi left UConn, went to the WNBA. So, Diana Taurasi, number 1 pick in the draft. Number 2 was Alana Beard. And those two battled, absolutely battled. And ultimately, when it came down to it, Diana Taurasi won the Rookie of the Year. Alana Beard would end up playing 14 years in the WNBA, playing for 2 teams, the Washington Mystics and the LA Sparks. She did have a massive injury where she missed a bit of time in the WNBA between the Mystics and going to the Sparks. But that injury aside, she was fantastic. She averaged a total of 11.3 points a game during her entire career, though I believe she averaged around 16 points a game when she was just with the Mystics before the injury. She also averaged 3.4 rebounds a game and 2.5 assists per game. Her career finished with a WNBA championship. She was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, winning those back-to-back years. She was a 4-time All-Star. She currently sits as the player with the most steals in WNBA history, with 697 steals. So shout out to Alana Beard for entering into the Mystics Hall of Fame and for just having such an amazing basketball career. Now, guys, we talk about defense a lot, right? There's some players who play some really good defense, like a Dejanay Carrington, Esme McGregor, Asia Wilson, yada, yada, right? But guys, Alana Beard played herself some basketball. And specifically, she got at you on defense. She got at you on defense. We see what Dejanay Carrington does on defense, right? And I'm not necessarily comparing them as players, but I'm sort of comparing their defensive style. That's defense that you would get from Alana Beard, and more from Alana Beard. She was a guard who could play either on terms of offense, she could play either the 2 or the 3, but in terms of defense, she can kind of guard just about everybody. She was put on the best guard on the other team, and she just really sort of rocks from there. She's going to steal the ball from you. She is going to sit down and not allow you to score a lot of points. She really was a fantastic defender. Yes, she scored points too. She was a good scorer too. But her claim to fame for Alana Beard is defense. Because defense wins championships. And she did win a championship in the WNBA. So shout out to Alana Beard for a fantastic career in the W. Guys, I am going to try my best to highlight as many sort of former WNBA players who just deserve their flowers because they were awesome. And I remember watching, Alana Beard and others while I was growing up, and it was great to see. So shout out to her. Yeah, happy for that the Mystics were able to honor a legend.
I mean, Alana Beard in her own right, you speaking to 2 people that love to play defense. Mm-hmm. And just what she's done, not only in this league, but if you look at what she's doing now with the finance world and what she's doing for her community, she's just a legend in her own right. So to even just have her presence here is insane. But I love her because she's such a calm demeanor. But she goes about business on her court, and I really kind of look up to her for that because I think it has a lot to do with the way that I play as well. So to have her not only come into our locker room and speak to us, but to have her part of this organization and to come back and enjoy it and to see her get her flowers today is pretty cool.
All right, guys, women's college basketball is back in action in November. And before it kicks off, there are some things that you need to know. So UConn and the Big 12 are in talks of having UConn join the Big 12 in all sports, according to a report from ESPN. Now, yes, this is crazy. And this is very, very early talks in the conversation. So it's no done deal if UConn will actually join the Big 12. But the fact that they're having talks about it, it means that it's a possibility. UConn's AD and board chair are planning on meeting with the Big 12 ADs soon to sort of discuss the possibility of this transition happening. Now, the reason for this potential move is surprise, 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 football, of course, and UConn's hope for more football money. Now, as we have seen in the past with the implosion of the Pac-12, we see the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten looking very, very different. Guys, football rules the NCAA. All other sports, for the most part, are just along for the ride. Long gone are the days of regional conferences being a name brand thing to do. Yes, there still are regional conferences, but the Power Fives, or now Power Four, the conferences that really, really do matter, the conferences that win championships and whatnot, they're not regional anymore. Regional's gone. Now you have the big, with 18 teams, spacing not just the Midwest and a sliver of the East Coast, but also going all the way to the West Coast in California. You have the Southeastern Conference, keyword Southeastern Conference, that has expanded so much that it now stretches to Texas. You have the Atlantic Coast Conference, now going all the way to California. So just a forewarning, when conference play actually starts, guys, we will probably see women's basketball players and coaches probably, having some complaints from for just the sheer amount of travel that these players and coaches are going to be doing. Instead of doing a 2-hour flight, we're gonna see a lot more 5-hour plus flights for conference games during the season. Again, just to play somebody in your conference, which is wild. A conference realignment is courtesy of college football. It's here, it's a new world, and we got to get used to it. So let me know your thoughts about conference realignment. Do you think that UConn is going to move to the Big 12? If you do, what do you think it means? I'm not quite sure if they will, because from a football perspective, I don't think it helps the Big 12 to have UConn go there. It helps UConn to go to the Big 12, but I don't know if it actually helps the Big 12 football conference. So we'll see. But guys, I want to hear your opinions about what you think about that. Also, what do you think about the effects that college football has really had on sports in general, and more specifically on women's basketball? Do you think that more teams should opt to do what Notre Dame did, where they went independent for football, and for all other sports, they were in a conference that made sense? In this case, for Notre Dame, the ACC. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also, if y'all could please hit that like button, that would be really, really, really awesome. All right, thank you so much. Women's college basketball is finally on the road to get units. And this is awesome. That is according to a email that the AP recently obtained. The email was from the NCAA, and it was sent to the basketball committees and conference commissioners. As it outlines a pay structure that will actually give women's basketball teams units, aka hard cash, for teams that play in the NCAA tournament. The amount will increase over time, but the first year will be $15 million. That will be split amongst teams who are participating in the NCAA tournament. That's around 16% of the media rights revenue deal. As time goes on, the amount of money will increase over time. Now, this is a welcome sign for women's basketball, as units has really been a contentious point for a while in women's basketball.
I know we're going to get units coming up here pretty soon. That can't come soon enough. I think why are we waiting to put that in? Let's do it now. Why wait? I think change has to happen a little bit quicker than what they want to move.
Now, just like the men, the women will receive units, which will go a long way to help fund women's basketball at both the school and the conference level. The NCAA, whose media rights deal for the men is $8.8 billion over the next 8 years, gives teams 24% of the deal. And an example of that, you could take this past year as an example. In the SEC, the SEC received $34 million. Now, they got that money due to them having a team that made it all the way to the Final Four. Now, this is SEC for the men's tournament. All right, $34 million in income that they got from getting one team to the Final Four. As we know, for the women, South Carolina, which is in the SEC, won the NCAA tournament. They got zero. Nothing for the SEC, nothing for South Carolina in terms of units for winning the tournament. Now, the women are nowhere near compared to where the men are in terms of value of their rights deals. So I'm not trying to compare it in terms of actual income, just sort of saying like the men have had units for a while. The women are going to be getting units because there's a sizable difference where, you can get something for the men, even if you don't make it that far. But for the women, up to this point, you didn't get anything in terms of units. And now the women have a new deal that's valued at $65 million per tournament per year. Regardless of the actual amount of money that they'll be getting in units, the fact that the women's game will be getting units soon is a huge deal just for the growth of the game, because it's going to get bigger. The amount of money is going to get bigger as the game grows and grows and grows and grows. So what do y'all think about the units and the fact that women's basketball is finally getting them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, continuing on with some college news. Samaya Smith has officially been cleared for play this season for LSU. Last year, she suffered a knee injury and had surgery, missing almost the entire season. But guys, she is back. And she was with the team earlier this month when they went to both Croatia and Greece.
Give me my money. Yay! Give me my money. Yay! Just give me my money. Yay! Just give me my money. Yay! Just give me my money.
The trip acted as a study abroad type of program for the team, and the student athletes received class credits for going on the trip.
I'm Sarah Becker, and I'm the professor for the 2 courses that go along with this study abroad service learning experience. Most of the academic component is going to be done domestically and is done here. We kind of stacked it heavy in terms of assignments, heavy readings, doing homeworks, quizzes, that kind of thing here. When I had the opportunity to bring in somebody who had played basketball professionally in another country to speak to the student athletes in the in-person class, I was super excited about it.
My name is Mamfatou Touré-Konaré. I'm from Senegal, West Africa, and I'm following the track of leadership and civic engagement in LSU, Louisiana State University. There are so many things that happen into LSU basketball teams. If I can say last year, it doesn't just impact in America, it also impact outside of their border. And that was so important for them also to be able to know that whatever they're doing impacts not just in their country, but also outside of their country as well.
I'm from the Dominican Republic, so basketball there for girls is way different than basketball for girls here. So I'm looking more forward to build a safe spot for them to be able to come and talk and be able to see things that they never saw before.
I think is a nice opportunity just in terms of getting what they have to say and hearing about somebody else's experience, getting a different lens on the world, but also can be good in terms of broadening the course content, right? Offering something that reading won't, watching a video won't, I won't.
Now, guys, unlike other trips that other teams have made, this year and in the past, usually women's basketball trips, when they go overseas, they're usually, yes, touring and whatnot, but they're also playing games, playing exhibition games. From what I can tell, LSU did not play any exhibition games at all. The entirety of this trip was a summer program of sorts where they were able to get college credits. And so this was a time where no scrimmages, just, tourist learning. So it's kind of cool, for LSU women's basketball team to get an all expenses paid, basically vacation, where they got to learn some awesome stuff about other countries and get some college credit while they were at it. I don't know, guys. Seems like a good deal to me. I wish I was back in college, and I wish I actually played basketball in college and was taller and D1 and whatnot. Maybe that could have been me. Anyway, LSU season kicks off November the 4th against Eastern Kentucky.
Name and occupation and what Croatia is most famous for.
Name and occupation. My name is Flage, aka Big Four, aka the biggest four.
It's a beautiful country. A lot of blue water. Game of Thrones filmed here.
Back to the photo shoots. 5. At the moment I travel the world for a living. Type stuff. Content. Get your content. The beautiful water. Oh, that was good. When the water's so blue. So blue.
All right, continuing on, TCU's Sedona Prince is continuing to be a force in women's basketball. From her playing on the court for Oregon, now TCU, to her recording the video that brought light the difference between the women's basketball tournament and the men's basketball tournament a couple years ago.
I got something to show y'all. So for the NCAA March Madness, the biggest tournament in college basketball for women, this is our weight room. Let me show y'all the men's weight room. Now, when pictures of our weight room got released versus the men's, the NCAA came out with a statement saying that it wasn't money, it was space that was a problem. Let me show y'all something else. Here's our practice court, right? And then here's that weight room. And then here's all this extra space. If you aren't upset about this problem, then you're a part of it.
Now to the lawsuit that will change the future of college sports as we know it. Both Sedona Prince and former Arizona State swimmer Grant House sued the NCAA for now allowing NIL payments for athletes before 2021. All right, so basically what they're saying is, hey, y'all made that change, but before that, we were not able to take advantage of NIL. According to the lawsuit, Sedona and Grant believe that the NCAA's rules prohibiting players from being able to receive payment for their name, image, and likeness before 2021 was a violation of the Sherman Act. Guys, the Sherman Act is a U.S. law that was passed in 1890, and it was a law that outlawed monopolistic business practices. Sedona and Grant's lawsuit worked its way into through the courts, and the NCAA recently agreed to a $2.78 billion settlement to be paid over 10 years, equating to approximately $280 million annually, with distribution of back damages as determined by the plaintiffs. Guys, the settlement also allows for a lot of stuff. It allows for schools to directly start paying student athletes, which is crazy. Schools will be able to provide up to 22% of the average Autonomy 5 athletic media ticket sponsorship revenue to student athletes starting in 2025/2026 academic school year. This settlement also will allow for the establishment of a clearinghouse for NIL payments over $600 that would give institutions access to information about external NIL activities, providing a level of transparency that does not currently exist to allow for better management of third-party influence and better assurance of legitimate NIL activity. The settlement will also eliminate all scholarships for sports, and instead, sports will just have roster limits. Like for basketball, it is 15. Now, there are other changes in the settlement that is awaiting approval from the courts. So this settlement is not officially official until it is approved by the courts, but likely it will get approved. But if this does get approved and goes through, college sports as we know it will cease to exist because the illusion of NCAA athletes being amateurs is gone once schools are able to directly pay athletes. And once athletes no longer are considered sort of and no longer are scholarships sort of considered like a very special thing. Guys, this is a sea change for us. College athletes are now basically professional athletes, especially for D1 football and basketball players. They're on the path to be treated like professional athletes with the schools moving into an employer status. The schools are now going to be an employer of hundreds of athletes, which can bring a lot of pros and a whole lot of cons. But what do you all think about this situation? Let me know in the comments because I'm very curious to like just really wrap my head around like what the future of college sports is once the settlement comes and we will see players getting directly paid. Very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. If you all want to read the entire settlement write-up, you can do that for yourself. I will link it in the description below. All right, guys, that is this week's Women's Basketball Weekly. I know there's a lot more that I can talk about. I could talk about some of the schedules that's been released for college basketball. I could talk about some of the updates in terms of top 25 players and the predictions for the 2025 WNBA draft and all that stuff. We will get to that in a future episode, all right? Women's Basketball Weekly is officially back, so that means we will be doing this every single Monday. So Monday, coming next Monday, you all will have way more content to consume, and we will just continue to do this. And I will make sure y'all stay up to date about what is happening. So there's a lot of other stuff happening, but I will make sure to cover that in a future episode. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Women's Basketball Weekly is back, so for all those who asked for it, shout out to y'all for asking for it to return. It is back. And guys, I would much appreciate it if you all could hit that like button, but not only that, if y'all could share this video. Share this video with someone who just wants to generally know what's happening in the world of women's basketball, whether that's pros or college. Let me know who y'all share it with in the comments below. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your coworkers, share it with your favorite media institution. And you're like, hey, check this out, Anyway, thank y'all so much for rocking with me. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Guys, until next time. Bye-bye.